friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average babes come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A place where being yourself is the ultimate goal, where your opinion, your story, and your individual experience matters. Join me, your host B, and my guests for real and raw talks every week, laying it all out there so we can all help each other learn more, grow deeper, and evolve collectively. Now keep in mind, as a disclaimer, no one here is an expert and no one is giving any advice. This is strictly our opinions, thoughts, feelings, and for entertainment purposes only. Now with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show, and today you guys we're on episode 198, What in the Actual Internet, Part 7 with Hollie G. I'm so excited, you guys. We're talking about lores and legends in this episode. So naturally, I had to have one of my most magical friends on to talk, and I haven't had Hollie G on the season yet, so it is time. I'm so excited for you guys to hear this episode, and also, what do you guys think? Just stuff for you. I know this is launching the day after Halloween, but sometimes things don't line out, and it felt weird doing an episode week before Halloween, so you're getting it now. Lydia Dietz in the flesh. What do you guys think? Anyways, before we get on to this episode, I just want to remind you to like, subscribe, turn on notifications. If you are listening on YouTube or Rumble, you can comment for engagement for me, follow, leave a review if you'd like. Same with Apple and Spotify. You can always leave a review and make sure to follow. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Pinterest, on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at the Be Real Babe or the Be Real Babe podcast. Thank you guys so much, as always, for all the love, all the support. I'm having so much fun this season. Still a little blown away that we're 2 months in now and we only have like 2 months, 3 months left, actually. I'm just a little shocked, but super exciting. The season's going so well, and I just appreciate you guys as always. If you want your own episode, please remember to reach out to me. I'd love to have you on the show. I am booking into mid-November now. Pretty much by the time this airs, probably mid-December. So make sure to let me know if you do want an episode. But I'm going to stop and we're going to jump into this amazing episode talking about weird internet things with my girl, Hollie G. Let's go. All right, babes, it's time to get on to the show. And with me today, I have a very special guest joining me for her 100th time on the show. I'd like to welcome Hollie G back.
Oh, hey.
Thank you for participating with me today.
Always.
I didn't even it was so funny. I didn't even mean that. And you know how our episodes with you just keep always lining up with that number 7. And
Yep.
then this one too, I was like, okay, that it's not episode with a 7 in it, but it's segment 7. So this is perfect for her. And then I was like, it lands the day after Halloween. I was like, Hollie will cosplay dress up with me for sure.
Yes, I will.
It wasn't even a question. And ode to our Beetlejuice. One day maybe you'll get the full outfit, and then we can try and reunite, and then we can do a Beetlejuice and Lydia
But could we?
together. We could, and I've
Okay.
been teaching G how to use Frank. So
Cute.
yeah.
Well,
So
I figured,
for those that don't know, G is my boyfriend. Frank is my camera. Just to be clear about that sentence there.
Well, I figured we did
Fiance.
cosplay for Poison Ivy before, and then I thought today it was time to bring in
I
Harley. So
know. I was actually
just a little
talking
bit.
about you yesterday in my girly crafting day, because obviously crafts and pumpkins and Halloween remind me of Hollie G. But also, I was just
Mhm.
saying how I missed and how we met, and I kind of actually forgot this how we met on the Alice in Wonderland shoot. Like when you had been brought in as a recommended artist, as a makeup
Oh,
artist and
yeah.
model. Yeah, and that's how we met. I kind of forgot that,
Actually, yeah. Okay. I
right?
didn't
And then
actually know how we met. I just assumed
yes,
it just happened one day, and then
yes,
it never went
yeah.
away.
I know. So it popped in my head yesterday, and I was like, oh, I have to remember to bring that up to her because, yeah, you came to my house and you brought pumpkin pie. And then we sat on the
Yep.
front of my porch and we talked for like half an hour, I think it was, on your way out. And we're like super excited about doing the shoot together. And then we're like, oh, okay. And we really like each other. This is really great. And then we've been friends ever since. Isn't that crazy?
It's really funny to me that most of my friendships have started with drinks or food because ours is pumpkin pie. I've got a
It is.
girlfriend and I brought her wine. I also had a girlfriend that I brought her Dr. Pepper. So I
Yes.
love how it's
It's a love
usually based
language.
around food or beverages.
Art. And most of
Art.
our friendship too, right, is always about different avenues of art. And I think that's one of my favorite things about our friendship is like
Me too.
supporting each other and then like blending in different ways. Like, how can we collaborate our different talents together to come together?
We have ways.
So many different
Whoa.
ways. And if you guys ever go to my like personal Instagram, you'll see most of my there's like I have Brie and Kelowna, who is like my main model, and my main model back in Grand Prairie was Hollie G. I was like, I said
So
yesterday,
sweet.
she would just have an idea and be like, I have this outfit, let's do a shoot. Or I'll be like, I want to do this. And she's like, hey, this is what I have. And it was just always so much fun. And like, I don't know, I just definitely miss that. But at least we have
Me too.
this. At least
Heck
we
yeah,
have
we do.
this.
Technology makes,
Right?
damned if we do, damned if we don't about technology. But there's moments that I hate it, but like I love that we could do this.
Absolutely. And then our episode on what the actual internet you was your last episode with me,
Yeah.
and we talked and we learned a lot about 50 Cent, who is just, well, yeah, maybe I'll have you back on the updated Hollywood one because I have to jump into the whole P. Diddy and, you know,
Yeah, and and I'm
that whole
still
thing.
loving 50 Cent, and I love that
Oh,
he's such a
yes.
hater of the industry like that too, and he just like doesn't give a shit, and I love that. We love
Yes.
him.
And
He's
same
still
with
like high up
Eminem and
there.
all that.
Yeah,
Totally. And it just loving all that stuff coming out now. And man, Cat Williams really wasn't lying when he said everything's going to come to the light this year, did he? Like,
no
I didn't
kidding.
even, he,
I'll never
but
look at baby oil the same again.
oh my gosh. And the more that just comes out, and I think that's why I'm hesitant to do an episode on it at this current moment, because I feel like there's just more and more developing. And I feel like since I'm like a month out from recording to launch, I feel like I'll
Yep.
miss so much. So I'm just so scared to do it. So I'm waiting a little bit and can then do a synopsis. But like, bro, this is nuts. But that's not what we're not
No,
Hollywood today. We're gonna have a
not
little bit more
not Hollywood
fun,
today.
not
Yeah,
Hollywood
yeah.
today, but some fun stuff that we're going to talk about. So, Holly's got 3 topics. I got 3 topics. We're going to go back and forth on some fun things, lores and legends that we have found on the internet. And what I love about this segment is that where we both go with it, but it's both equally interesting to us. Like, I'm super excited to hear more about yours, especially because it's like, I don't know, just more mystical and like fairy tale and like like I really don't know, and this is like just like creepy shit that the world is doing that I have as per
Yeah.
brand. So I'll start with my first one. So the first one I forgot about entirely, and I actually remember hearing about this when I was younger, is the urban legend about the Love Roller Coaster song by Ohio Players. So what at first when I was recalling this, I was like, oh, the Red Hot Chili Pepper song from Beavis and Butthead. That's not that version that it is, so don't go looking
Oh,
in that version. So it's not that one. It's actually the one that was made in 1975. It was on the album Honey by Ohio Players. So before I even jumped into this, what I had remembered about this was there was a bunch of conspiracies and urban legend about, in the song there's a scream, and the urban legend was as someone was being murdered in the background as they were recording the song. And then
shit.
right, and there's a bunch of different conspiracies that I remember, because the album cover is like a woman drinking like honey and it's like dipped all over her kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I had heard that it was actually like, which sounds so crazy. When I was younger, I was like, that makes so much sense. It was her screaming because the hot honey to whatever she was like created a bond, and so when she was like trying to get off of there, it like ripped
Ah,
her skin,
like
and then she was
wax.
screaming. Yeah, but then if you think about it, you're like, but why would that be on the recording? Anyways,
That's a
so
little bit weird.
allegedly, yeah, the urban legend persists that. So if you go to find the song, so again, it's Love Roller Coaster, and you go find it at 124 and 120, between 124 and 128, you can actually hear the scream. And I actually grabbed it. I'm going to see if I can play it and see if you can hear it. I've never done this on lives or not on recording. So let's see if you can hear. Oh, you might not because no, you won't because it's in my headphones, but I'll try and play it in through this here, but you can hear it just a couple seconds and I'll break the episode here for you guys to hear it. But yeah, it's just like this faint little scream in the background. And so, like,
Creepy.
very well sounds like a creepy scream, especially when you go into listening it thinking that that's like the urban legend of it. You're kind of like, okay, I can kind of, and knowing what we know about Hollywood and all that's coming out. But yeah, I guess a disc jockey in Berkeley, California, had kind of brought it up and was like, was someone getting murdered in the back of that song? And so that's where like the conspiracy like bred from there. But
Damn.
I guess, yeah, the explanation was that, you know, how like Kelly Clarkson or like people that go really high notes, they kind of have like a high note where it kind of clears a little bit and gets raspy. It was just kind of one of those random squeals that people get at high levels. But when you listen to it, with the connotation that the legend is that someone died while they were recording that in the recording studio. It
Damn.
it gives you the
Damn.
creeps.
It gives me the weirds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you ever remember hearing anything about that back in the day? Like, because it's
No,
kind of
this
older than
is this
us.
is new information. Yeah, this is like a little bit older than us. I'm just getting cozy in my bed. Don't
Mm,
mind me.
mm.
But I that's new information for my brain. But also, in saying that, I've heard of other songs having like the subliminal messaging. So like different, but like also like there was another song that was very similar, and I don't remember of it, but it was like somebody was getting murdered in the background. Maybe it's the same one,
Maybe it's the same
but I
one.
don't actually remember. I don't remember
Isn't that
too much
crazy?
about it. That is
Because
crazy.
too, if you think and you go back to tin hat conspiracy, like over my big ass hair here, tin hat. You know how they say like they have to show us what they're doing, right? So it's like
Yeah.
maybe we're thinking about movies all the time, and they're showing us movies and all that stuff. There's shit that's got to be hidden in music too, and that also brought me to listening to the lyrics of Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers too, and
Yeah,
how
girl.
like they're just so, it was like that song has aged extremely well and terrifyingly well, right? And so it's
Yup.
like, okay, maybe there is shit that they've done in their songs that they play off as like, I don't know. It just got my little tinker going. And I was like, at first I did think it was the red. So I'm listening to the song over and over this morning, and I was like, I don't hear it. Where is this? And then I was like, oh, it's the Ohio players like back
Mhm.
then. So I thought that was super
Mhm.
interesting because that song was like top of the charts for quite a few years. Like that was a very popular song to the point where it got remade with the Red Hot Chili Peppers for Beavis and Butthead, which in our day was huge. Like
Yeah. Yeah,
that's
totally.
like Family Guy, Simpson huge back then, right? I think.
Futurama huge. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. And then it got me on the whole rabbit hole of like music and lyrics and like, okay, like then, again, I'm not going to go to Justin Bieber, but like what are musicians
Yup.
sometimes kind of telling us with all this stuff, and how many more legends and lores. Now this, I'm like, I want to dive into this more. Like how many more
I know.
songs
Like I
have
feel
like,
like you can have a segment just for music because I was like, well, like Sia, her chandelier was about suicide. Sorry, we even allowed to say that? Yeah,
yeah, I
I don't
don't
know.
care. Yeah.
Um,
I'm not
okay, cool.
monetized anywhere. They can't take my
So like
money
that was
away.
so there was that piece, and then there was like other songs like I don't want to bring Justin Bieber in it either, but he was like, but there's some stuff there, and then there's like Macklemore who's talking about some really intense stuff, and it's like hidden within like how it's said, right? Not just what's being said, but how it's said. But then you like look at the Foo Fighters, and they're under fire right now because Dave Grohl and Baby outside of his marriage and stuff. But like you look at some of yeah, and I still love Dave Grohl, and I'm not gonna make any it is what it is. But they have like taken like a hiatus off of touring right now. But one of their albums they actually had recorded in the bathroom. They just recorded it. I think it was over COVID times, and they just recorded it in one of the guys' bathroom because the acapella, like the sound of it in the bathroom, was perfect. So like I am not shocked to hear of other things happening in the background because like when you're recording stuff, you're gonna pick up other things. But the fact that it'd be like somebody dying, that's pretty messed up.
And back then, like, think about technology now. That could definitely, like, I ain't no editor like that, but I know it can happen now. But
No.
back then, right? Like, maybe you wouldn't think, or maybe you just be
Yeah.
like, oh, it could just be passed off as a screamer. No one will think that way because this was like in the 70s, right? So, not
Yeah.
saying that didn't
Yeah.
happen, but it isn't like it is now. So, I just find, and also, too, I love songs that they talk about where you hear it in reverse. It sounds different or whatever, like the
Yeah. Yeah.
words and
Yeah. It was
stuff,
like
and you're like,
still
kid,
have
what are we
meaning.
actually getting brainwashed? Like, ugh, I
Some
hate it. But
some
yeah, I
red
do want
rum.
to. Exactly. And but I do want in an episode do go through that because I do think, like there's Avicii, like there's a ton of different artists and that
Mhm.
have
Mhm.
brought stuff. And to your point though, like I just want to kindly quickly say about the Dave Grohl thing. I think what really important for everybody is just to not like stand celebrities or artists of any kind. Like I don't know, it's like soon as they become a level of famous, it's like people don't think, and I'm not excusing him, but it's like people don't think that people make mistakes. And it's like if your mistakes were publicly put out there, you know what I'm saying? Like everyday people
Mhm.
do this shit too. So, and I'm not excusing it. I'm just saying to
Yep.
expect that a man wouldn't, or, like this wouldn't happen. Like it happens everywhere. Men, women, it's just, you just shouldn't idolize those people, I think. And, I
Yeah.
do think it's important to know, but like, are you going to him for marriage advice or are you listening to him as an artist? Like,
Yeah, and I think that there's a piece there too because I've really had a hard time trying to differentiate between like the artist and their art because I love Dave Grohl. I was like, I think he's just a genuine, awesome human. But then like this stuff happens, and it's like, okay, but like I also can't get caught up in it because it's also not my life. But also like he has also experienced a lot of things that I have not experienced. He's experienced a lot of loss, a lot of grief, and how people deal with that is their own journey. So it's like really hard to like, you know, it's really hard to like have these standards of people. Like he, I mean, I reference some of the celebrities as like gods, but like at the same time, it's only because like 50 Cent is a god. He got shot a bunch of times and he's still alive. Like the man
Yeah.
is, yeah, you know what I mean. There's pieces
Jesus.
there,
He's
but like,
Jesus. Just kidding.
yeah, I mean, Jesus is a zombie. So, um, anyway, that's a whole different topic. Either way, but yeah. So, anyways, celebrities are, yeah. I just try not to have that like high standard because as soon as it stuff goes sideways, you're just like, what the hell? I never seen that coming. And then like learning about all the things that are in like happening in Hollywood right now, it's like I'm not gonna listen to any music apparently, but also I want to
I
because
know.
like
How
what
do
do
you
you
stop
do?
though? Like it's everybody, right? And that's what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that he shouldn't be held accountable, but his family. But it's like I feel like if he was a marriage counselor, definitely. And if you don't want to support someone that has done that and made those mistakes, like you have every right to vote with your dollars. But I think just like the online coming in and bashing and people being like
Oh yeah.
so upset and it's as if it happens to them and just
Yeah.
so just and it's like, yeah, it's disappointing and that sucks. But like aren't you glad that it's not your spouse and maybe gives if it
Mhm.
was your
Mhm.
spouse wouldn't you want people not to be like talking about it and spreading it and giving their opinion on what they would do when they only have a handful amount of information as I once in a while am a drama channel sometimes but I don't talk about
Yeah,
that kind
but
of shit but I mean like
no, but that's
because it's
fair.
just their lives right like I wouldn't
Yeah.
want that to be spread out about myself as I'm going through it trying to deal with it to decide for myself
Mhm.
and having all these people come in about it that's why I also like to report on stuff a little bit after the fact. And I think for me, the hard line is like if you're a child diddler or like a rapist or anything, like that's where I cut the line.
Mhm.
Not saying that cheating's good, but like any sort of
No.
physical or any kind of violence like that, I just that's where I draw the line on supporting people. But like
Mhm.
I don't know, it just it sucks. But I mean, I don't go to him for marriage advice. I don't know. That's probably an unpopular opinion, but if he was
No,
like,
I'm in the same boat.
when what's her name? Rachel, oh gosh, Rachel girl wash your face. Rachel
Oh, Hollis.
bam. Now that one I understand the upset because for years she was promoting her book and her marriage courses about how amazing her like her and like that facade and pretending to be someone you're not and
Mhm.
pretending and selling it and selling that idea and that is your identity and what your business is. That's where I understand the outrage should be because you're being fake. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? But like and that's what you're selling. So at least if they were honest and being like, we're having a rough time, you know, like and led by it that way, I think it would have been received a lot different. But it was like, this is how I've made my perfect life. Meanwhile, it was not perfect and
Mhm.
your marriage was not
Exactly.
perfect, which is totally okay. No one
Yeah.
is judging or even trying to pretend that it's messy, but not being like truly honest of how deep it was. It's just very curated. And then to me, it's not real and like be real
Mhm.
babe be real Rachel just kidding I'm sure she is now but you know what I mean so that's where I
Yeah.
think like where we really need to hold people accountable is like when they are selling an idea and selling something to somebody else that's when I think we should really hold people's feet to the fire but like a Dave like let that to him and his family and his wife can
Mhm.
decide that what happens if it comes out that he beat her or like they physically harmed her like then I'd be like okay maybe don't support that but
Yeah.
at the same day it's like I don't know. Like you said, eventually Hollywood's just gonna be completely outed, and y'all don't want to hear me sing. I promise you that.
Like music could take up so many segments because like I also fell down that rabbit hole of
No.
Linkin Park's new singer and I think she's fantastic. Does that mean that I wanted her to be replacing Buddy? No. Do I follow what she does in her personal life? No, because that's a whole other different thing. But does anybody actually it is, but like from the outside looking in and not getting too like attached to the outcome, I think her voice is fantastic and I think it's a good fit. But like I also that's all that I care. I don't
Yep,
want to
and
spend
that's
my
totally fair.
time dabbling in knowing all the things because I will be hyper fixated on all the things and not enjoy my music ever again. Like, and that music's a big part for me. So, no pass.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally, totally. And I think, and
Yeah.
that's for each their own. Like for myself, like I'm all good with them carrying on. I just personally think that they need to leave that in the past and let her and them start a new thing now. That's just my personal opinion.
Yep.
And I do agree. Like I do agree with his son. It's kind of like a spit in his face kind of thing. Like I'm sure he'd want him to carry on, but to me, I'm listening to karaoke and it's no shade to her. I'm sure
Oh,
it'd be good. Like I'm sure it would be great if she does her own things and their own thing under even the name, but just that's where I struggled with it
that's fair
personally.
because like I can't compare the two. There's no comparison in my brain, and I just
Yeah,
can't. Like even with the same name or whatever, it's like no, it's too very. I can't even go there.
exactly. And
So
that's
I'm
what I
just
mean,
like there.
right? So
It's
I
just
think
yeah. It just hits way different.
yeah, yeah. So I just thought that was interesting. And that whole like Lincoln Park and him, and that's a whole other rabbit hole that we've covered several times on here with Paul Walker and Isaac Cappy and the whole Hollywood thing. But that was my fun little, I forgot about this. And I actually remember it when I was a teenager hearing this kind of like before I even got into conspiracies or legends.
Hmm.
This was one that I remember hearing like, oh yeah, she died and all the honey like fused her to the plastic and her
Oh
knees,
God.
like I remember there's like all these crazy stories. And it's like, and then I read this and I was like, okay, so there was something. I didn't just make this up. But yeah, that was my first one. So let's head over to your first one. Tell me what you got.
Okay, so ever since I was little, I've always done this thing where I always wear odd socks. Okay, and there's a point to this, I swear. Okay, so as a child, I was always told that like my grandpa, his dad had lost his sight to the fairies on the beach back in Newfoundland. Okay, so kind of fell down the rabbit hole. I've always loved the idea of the Fae realm, and then I started recently seeing stuff on my Instagram about like fairy traps. So essentially, have you ever heard of what a fairy trap is? Do you kind of know what that is?
Not enough to say it
Okay.
with
So
confidence.
basically it's basically like a phenomenon that happens in nature. So like you see like fairy rings if there was like a ring of like mushrooms or sometimes it's like a ring of trees and it's considered like a maybe it's like a portal or like that's where the fae hang out, okay? So to add to that though, when they're talking about fairy traps, it's essentially to lure in humans to mess with them. So what this looks like could be like say you're watching a river go, but you see like maybe there's a stick stuck under the water, but it's only one spot of the river and it's kind of like moving weird. So it's almost looking like almost like a oh my god, what is this word? I don't know what this word is. But like
Rowan,
there's like
Cyclone,
kind of like it's on like the little whirlpool kind of dealio. So it's basically essentially like the whole river's just going and it almost looks like something stuck under the water, but like is to get your attention. It's to like lure you in. Okay? So then there's also things like if you were out in the woods and there like the breeze came through, or maybe there's no breeze and then there's just this one tree that's kind of just like, woo, oh hey, come look at me. So it's like one of those things, you know how like that the saying is like curiosity killed the cat? Well this is what's considered like say
fairy
like
killed the cat.
a fairy trap to kind of lure you in. So when I grew up thinking that the fairies were like back home they were considered good, but if you respect them. So, and I taught like my kids always wear odd socks, and that was how you would trick the fairies into not taking you essentially. And yeah, not to take you because what would happen is that like fairies could lure you away from your families because they would play with kids at say like the beach. So essentially fairies were seen around like the beaches, the forests, anywhere outside of town. It originally started as like a hey, don't go into the woods by yourself, don't go too far, or the fairies will get you kind of thing. But according to some of the history pieces of that, it all is kind of it originates a lot of what I have followed from Newfoundland, from Ireland, and it's like things like to keep fairies away would be like to have bread in your pocket or like crumbs or like money or to wear odd socks because what would happen with the odd socks it would confuse them because they're not matching. So like, whoa, that person's a
You're not
little
the same
bit weird.
person.
Yeah, right? Like, but essentially, now I'm gonna pull up some notes because I wanted to like keep myself on track here because I wanted to also get it right. But like wanted to share this because I thought it was wild. So now they say the fairies aren't so much to be as feared, they're more to be respected. And it's kind of tying in nature versus civilization in that kind of fundamental. But they're seen as like not like a Tinkerbell fairy that we would associate with. They're more of like a small person, kind of like maybe to like the height of your knee. So smaller. It's also seen in like indigenous cultures as well as like the little ones is how they kind of have called them before in the past. They are considered not good nor bad, but but they don't follow human rules. So how they interact is definitely unpredictable by nature. It says in many cases the stories around Newfoundlanders have been associated with like somebody's out berry picking and will hear fairy music and then become entranced and lose their way in the woods. Like they would lose like all sense of where the hell they are. They would like dazed and confused, kind of like those like lost forests that you hear about. Like I think there's some in BC actually. Like you go in and you like then out of nowhere you're like, oh my god, where the hell am I? And then they would lose their way in the woods, and then they'd be found days later, return home, not knowing what the hell just happened. So like, there's those pieces,
Little
and
drug
then
trip.
there's like, yeah, you just like gone on a rendezvous for a weekend, and it's funny, but like
And
not
the
super
fairies.
funny. Yeah, right. But like funny, not fair. Like funny, not funny because you hear about people doing that in the mountains, right? So I'm like, like they would like wake up somewhere, like, oh my god, like where the hell was I? But they also said,
Especially the mushroom circles, like that's
yeah,
interesting, right? Like, does that entice
yeah,
people to eat them, and that's how they go on their
maybe
little
like
like
a mushroom
lost?
trip.
So
And maybe
saying
they're seeing people because they're on a mushroom trip. It's wild to me. But it says if feeling mischievous, fairies might swap a baby for a changeling, a sickling, like a sickly being, not entirely human. You've heard of like changelings, right? Like you
yes, think
yeah,
so.
okay. So fairies may also join children for tea on the beach, spirit a loved one away on a horse, or place a curse, making a family member mute. So when it says family member mute, I keep thinking of like my great grandpa who said he swears he lost his vision to the fairies on the beach that day. And ever since then, it's been like an unwritten rule that everybody in our family had worn odd socks, especially if we're out by ourselves, berry picking or on the beach. Okay. So then it says
That's
also,
so cute.
I know fairies
Not
could
cute,
even, but
but
like also, but listen to this piece. This part blew my mind too. It says fairies could even take people away and drown them in the ocean. So much of the province's fairy folklore exists at the point where where the civilized world and nature intersect. So like it's on the outskirts of town, the remote villages. It's kind of like the way I kind of see it is that like the fairies are helping take care of nature, right? And it's always been something that I've kind of followed. I always thought it was really interesting. I always joked around about how, oh, like if the fae world wants to take me, the rules are different. Maybe I'd like it there more. But like I just thought it was so wild because like we do fairy gardens, and I never really like thought anything about it. But really, it's they say the stories take place at the end of a garden, hence why we use fairy gardens. Okay? Where people go berry picking in the meadows, at the beach, or slightly away from the home in the border zone between like the wild and the tame is what they call it. So like say if you're on like an acreage where it's all like perfectly manicured and then like just past there is like a wooded area, boom, fairies essentially, right? But then it goes in further to talk about how you can protect yourself by with potential fairy disasters always near in Newfoundland. There's many different traditional charms to use for protection, like keeping bread in your pockets can ward off fairies, or if you're endangered or being led astray, you can turn an article of clothing inside out. So that's kind of where that odd sock kind of thing came in, but like to a different level. But then it goes on to say the tricky part is that for every story you hear and every rule, there's an opposite to it because it's the storytelling piece that's passed on through generations, and different parts of the province have different things, and that's kind of how they tied it all in together. It's just the wildest. But like apparently, money's also a charm. Some locals used to pin like um, coins in their clothing or paste them in baby carriages, um, stuff like that, just to keep the kids safe as well, because kids are innocent and they're going to be seeing things differently, and they're a little bit easier to lure because they believe in magic already, and why wouldn't they? Because they're so little. Um,
so what you're saying is fairies are pedophiles. I'm just kidding.
I mean, I feel
I'm
okay. So,
kidding.
right? I was like, ah, but like,
If you zone out there for a second.
I don't know. I don't know, but like it's really interesting too because I think for like a little bit they used to use like the fairies got you as like um okay, so they used to have it so like don't be off in the woods by yourself because the fairies might get you. But like if somebody was mentally unwell, they would literally see it as being like, oh, the fairies got to them. Don't be like you don't want the fairies to get to you like they did to them if they were like mentally unwell. And I was like, that's kind of messed up. But like
That's an interesting choice for parenting. Just kidding.
But like back
Like
then,
some
like
people
how did
use Santa.
right? Some people use whatever, but like I guess back
Yeah.
in the day, like if that was what you fit, if that's what you followed, and I guess it's like in their own way of like interacting and like messing with, yeah. So anyway, I thought it was interesting because fairies have always been something of mine of interest, and if you follow down that rabbit hole of say like past lives or like if you dabble with like anything of like spirit, like say like a spirit team or like a if you have like anybody who's like I don't know where I was even going with that sentence, but you know if you have like mystical things that you're attracted to and like they're like said to be on your team or whatever, it was really interesting because I remember being so I started working at the store that I started doing my workshops at. They took me on as a part-time girl. And there was one day I was sitting there, and one of the items on this rack full of items started moving, and just the one. All the other ones were fine. Just the one. Creepy, right? Yeah, that face you just made, that's exactly how I felt. And I like look up and I was like, listen, I say this out loud. I was like, listen, not today. I don't have the space for it. And it stopped, and I was like, okay. And it's only just to get my attention. It's only just to like, you know, to like, hey, Holly, by the
Bring you
way, I'm
present.
here. Be present. Make, like, acknowledge that I'm here. But there's like a lot of energy in that store, which is another reason why I'm attracted to it, and I really like it there. Minus their creepy basement because I won't go down there. I'm good. But there's like a lot of energy and different things and stuff like that, right? So like I told that to stop it, and then I just like had like the weirdest like thought that came over me. And I was like, I kind of feel like I have a Loki attached to me. That's like something that's mischievy, something that's like messing with stuff. And I mentioned it to another person, and she's like, "Oh, girl, that's the fairies. You got them on your team." And I was like, "That is the wildest shit I've ever heard." Because like when we think fairies, I don't know about you, but I think like dainty winged
Yes.
like fairies. But no, like these would be like maybe spirit side little humans or like even like indigenous people like when they had reservations like even in Newfoundland's history like in Labrador there was a lot of Inuit reservations up there that had stories about fairies but there was like considered like toddler size little ones that would
Not
just
like
no not like
little tinies.
yeah, not like the
Tinkerbells.
borrowers down under or anything, just like
Yeah. Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
up to your knee size, and they would just go
That's
around and like maybe wreck havoc, or like be like, oh
yeah.
hey, or like misplace and move things on you, or like just like really funny weird shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was
Yeah,
wild.
just to let you know that you're not alone.
Yeah,
That's what I
just to be
feel
like,
like too,
hey,
right?
yeah, and then just like also make you feel like sometimes you might feel a little bit crazy because you're like, I know I put my coffee down there. Where the hell did it go? Or like, out in the woods, you'd be like, oh, I looked at this rock 5 times. I know that I did, but I'm doing circles now. Where am I? Then that's where my head goes to. Is like now the freaking fairies. The fairies got to me, and I gotta wear my odd socks and put some money in my pocket. Like, right? but but like over in Europe they do have it that they actually have like milk and bread in their like outside of their houses in certain times of the year because that is to pay respect to like there's like a bunch of different like I don't know if over there is the same as Newfoundland in that way, but they actually have like areas that have like rolling hills that have like fairy doors on the hills and stuff like that.
Oh,
So
I've
like
heard this. Yeah,
yeah,
I've
so if
heard
like
that.
if there's certain times that you would want to put like stuff out there, especially if you're going for a walk and stuff like that too, because if they follow you home and you have this like essentially like an offering to them, they'll leave you alone. So it's like a pay respect to them. It's so wild.
That's a little criminal to me. But like I feel like that's some bullying. Like
Yeah,
you
it's like
give
a
me
little
something
bit.
so that I don't bug you. I'm just kidding.
But like
I'm
at the
kidding.
same time though, like if
I'm
you're
just
taking,
kidding.
but hear me out though, because if you're in there and you know that there's like it's like considered like a fairy like area and you're taking stuff. So like say if like
It's
I
totally
love
fair.
picking
Yes.
rocks and I love
Yeah.
picking sticks and like who knows if I'm picking that and it's like a maybe it's like one of their slingshots. I think of like little borrowers down under that live in my house. This is where my head
Or honey,
freaking
I shrunk the
goes.
kids.
Yes. They're just like little people like this big. And I know that's not like I don't even know what I know anymore, but I thought that was just like the wildest shit. Like it's just and I'm like I thought that this was me losing my mind or my grandpa like being senile, right? Like I thought that like legit my great grandpa like I never got to meet him, but he swore like out to my pop's cabin. So my pop's cabin is like out on its own like little island. So you'd have to get off. You'd have to go take a ferry ride, and this ferry ride's like maybe you can hold 10 people, and then you and it's like one of those situations in which you can't go out certain times because um if the weather's bad, they can't get back to you. There's no cell service out there. Everything's run off generator, and he's up on like kind of like a hill. So it's like this is like the cabin, and then there's like this little like wooded area right here at the edge of the property, and right past those couple of trees is a freaking cliff that goes straight down. So that's like and then it goes straight down to a cliff, and then you can get back down to the beach, but it's like a good old jaunt to get back down to the beach. But like that's where my brain
He
goes
had
every
fairies
time.
for sure. He had fairies for sure.
Fairies for sure.
And I feel
I'll
like
talk
I
about
was
forever.
able to absorb them when I thought they were this big, but the thought of
Yeah,
them being like little miniature people, like no offense to miniature people, but just the thought of that and like being childlike and like, but I guess easier to kick if you need. I'm kidding, fairies
but
do
like
not hurt me.
but like
Mm,
also
mm, mm.
creepy because like how like you watch all those horror movies, and like the only ones that really get me are the kids that are like ha 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 like creepy. So like now my head goes to like, what if they're like shapeshifters, and then they're like just like out and they're just like watching you, like maybe like cougars do when you're out for jaunts, and then they're just watching you just to see like if they're just gonna fuck with you. Like we're not alone. So like
No, we're not, but I like to pretend that we are. Makes me feel a little bit better. Especially in the dark in the basement.
yeah, no kidding, I feel that.
But I do love my favorite thing is like I do feel like a lot of the movies and stuff have changed what we view now as certain things, like
Yeah,
if you go back to, let's say, nursery rhymes, like those shit are scary. Like they're
those
not like
are
read to your
fucked up.
babies. Like I felt like those were more like warnings to like terrify children and like start
Oh
us
yeah.
starting with like health issues started at like nursery rhymes. And like there's an
Yep.
enchanted forest here that everyone
Yes.
likes to, some people like to do mushrooms and go to that. And on, bro, I'm sober and I was stressing the fuck out that whole walk, and I was like, this is
Oh,
not
dude.
merry and fun. This is where nightmares and people go to die. Like that's what I felt in there. Like it, I
Is
was like, no way would I do mushrooms and go through that forest. Like, ugh.
well, like when you say enchanted forest, my head just for some reason my head just goes to like that Japan forest that people walk into apparently, and then they just kill themselves. You've heard of that
Oh
place,
yeah,
right?
so
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have, yeah,
I think
where
it's
where
Japan.
Jake Paul went or whatever. Yeah, in
Yeah.
Japan. Yeah, Jake Paul went there and videotaped it and posted it.
Oh shit.
Oh, do
I
you hear
didn't
me?
know about this.
Oh, you're. Oh, I was like, oh no, did you lose? Yeah, yeah. No, he apparently went. Well, he did there. He went there and he videotaped it. And he got, this is a long time ago. He got in a
Yeah.
lot of trouble for it. And like people still kind of poke him at it sometimes. But yeah, it was like, not trying to excuse the behavior, but at the same time, that was like early YouTube, and he doesn't have
Mhm.
parents. I
Mhm.
mean, I don't really know what you expect. People are just always gonna go
Yeah.
and do crazy stuff like that. But no, this is like, so it's called the Enchanted Forest, and it's on the side of the highway, and it's in this big forest in BC, and there's like nursery rhyme setups like all throughout this, like where you walk, and it's not like the fluffy cute nursery rhymes. It's like the like nightmare, I think, nursery rhymes. Like it's like it's some of it's cute, like Mrs. Hubbard's cupboard, and it's like this little house that you go into, and like that shit's cute.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
there's like I don't know. It's just I can't. I'll have to get pictures and send it to you. It's the creepiest thing. But people do mushrooms and go in here, and I'm just like, no, thank you. Like sober, I don't want to. So yeah. So those are those two. Okay, so let's go on to my next one. So wanting to in the theme. This, you guys, someone please invent good wigs, please.
Yeah.
Like ones that don't make you feel like you've got bugs crawling in your body. Just a thought if anybody that's listening wants to have a new business idea, because like Lord, I can't wait to rip this off my head. I almost like next time I'm just gonna cut my hair like this and dye it rather than wear a
Imagine
wig.
commitment.
Um, I know, so much commitment. Well, I figured we're both brides this year, and well, like becoming brides,
Mhm.
whatever, engaged, right? So the next one is more Halloweeny. So it is an urban legend. Allegedly, Snopes or whatever, the fact checkers have
Mhm.
claimed
Mhm.
that this isn't true. But apparently in 1962, there was a party, and I couldn't figure out where it was because it's an urban legend, but somewhere I'm imagining down the states. Um, so let me just like read this little part. So it was a Halloween night. A bunch of kids from high school made their masks and headed out to Marla's for the evening. Her parents weren't in, so she was having a party. Everyone at school, we're gonna all go. Teenagers, we're gonna get, and this is like
Crunk.
1860. Yeah. So this is in like 1962 in a small town. So like
Okay.
I don't know
Yeah.
if y'all have ever looked at costumes in 1962, but it's pretty much like
Terrifying.
paper mache mask. It's terrifying,
Hmm.
right? So but parents are going, they're going to high school, they're going to have a party, regular teenage party, throwing water grenades at mailboxes. This is back then. I just think this is so funny. Dragging the boulevard and Kenny's mother's coop. Um
I love
trick
that.
I was laughing so hard. The story was so good. Kids stopped trick-or-treating around 9:30 and the party was just getting out. And there was a bottle laying around. Tommy had a new Polaroid picture, so he gathered everybody around to take a picture. Everybody knew each other, but there was just like this one person that's like stood out. It was like this black mask, this entire like looked like an executioner, and no one knew
Mm.
how important this photo was going to be, right? Because like they're just having a party, all the kids are there, it's no big deal. The
Yep.
evening was getting later and things are getting fuzzy. People are drinking, whatever, having a good time. Um, and then all of a sudden, uh, someone described they saw a dowel rod propped up on top half of the window on the outside, placed really quietly. They thought it was strange, but brushed it off. So allegedly, the first people that were found were the people that were throwing the party. All of a sudden, were found in the bedroom down the hall with their throats slit open and blood gushing everywhere.
Oh God.
So this girl named Karen, of course it was a Karen,
Of course.
found them. Of course, she screams, but bam, knife goes into her back suddenly. She's down for the count. She can't breathe. All of a sudden, she hits the floor. Now, people at the party, they're seeing stuff. They're starting to scream and they're panicking. So they're running for doors and exits, but they can't exit because this motherfucker has boarded them all into this house.
Yeah.
All of
Like
the house
like you
windows
would.
are
Yeah.
boarded, like you would, right? As a
Like you would.
murderer.
Yeah, as a
Um,
murderer.
Exactly. So this man in this black hooded mask that was in the photo that stood out to everybody is just swinging this knife around. He is just going for it. He's an expert, they say. He was careful with the knife. It seemed like he had done this before. And they grew up in a small town, small farming town, allegedly. This is where this legend came from. So this was very, like, not common at all. Like, what the fuck actually happened?
Yep.
So I guess they said because it was a farm town, like, it wasn't uncommon for people how to know how to, like, strangle someone or, like, how to kill, but this was like a whole different level. Um,
But how would you
so
not know how to do that if you just do that? I don't.
I don't know. I don't know. I never think about it, so
Nah.
I don't know. Um, if I think about anything, it's like if I ever get like violent, like intrusive thoughts, it's like usually a baseball bat because I feel like that does some damage but doesn't like murder. So it's like if I ever have that like rage fit of where I just want to like maybe would think about this, it's like anyways. So the kids got out. There was a bunch of kids murdered, but they never figured out who it was. So I guess when the next day they found the camera, found that black mask, and no one knew who it was, and they found the mask on the side of the road, and because it's 1962 they didn't do anything about it, or because this is an urban legend, it's not real anyways. But yeah, the picture is terrifying. I will put it on the video for everyone to see here, but it's just like, for one, it's terrifying to look at all those paper mache like masks like that. It's terrifying to just see that like black mask like right in the middle and knowing that that's allegedly what the person was going to do. And maybe just another, like, maybe these urban legends and these things come out for parents just to really try and like just like try to stop their kids from doing shit and going partying. It's like, you better not go to a Halloween party. Do you remember that Halloween massacre in 1962?
Well, like I was just about to ask, like, what would be the reason for that to become like an urban legend? Like, what is like the outcome that you want to inspire fear in your children, or like
Mm-hmm.
that just gives me Purge vibes, and I don't think Purge
Yes.
is. I honestly don't think Purge is too far off from the reality because like I think we're just
No,
like a
not
couple
right
of
now.
choices off from that happening in real life. And I know that sounds kind of
Very,
fucked
very
up,
true.
but like also like we're in like this like disturbia or like whatever we want to call it, dystopia.
The
I
Twilight
don't
Zone. Yeah.
idiocracy. Like we can name it like a bunch of different words, but like really like half the
Yes.
time I believe that we're in a simulation. Me and Sean had this conversation the other
It's
day.
a game.
I had it. We had. He's like, I would be really fucking pissed off if I die at like 80 something, turn around and then there's a guy on the other side taking off my headset and be like, yo, dude, you were in this game for a year. How was it? And he'd be like, I'd be fucking pissed to throat punch him. And I was like, yeah, I would too, man.
Yes.
The fucking
Yes,
shit
I
is
would.
this? Like,
Yes. And And if you think about it, it all kind of leads to the same thing, you know,
Yeah.
just like, okay, so you're going to be end a simulation and your player is done and you go back. Okay, so then you go, you die, you go back up to God, you get reincarnated, you come
Yep.
back, you know, like
Yeah. Full
spiritually
game.
you ascend, you go back and then you know, it all blends together. Like, so no matter what, it's kind of shows you like to not take life so seriously, but also learn the lessons that you can and don't go to Halloween parties anymore. Just kidding.
Apparently.
But
Apparently.
I
Allegedly.
do think allegedly, but I do think like they do some stuff like that, and I do think some stuff is true as well. And I
Mhm.
think it gets put into like a legend because like no one can fact check it. No one really knows. No
Mm-mm.
one was around there.
Mm-mm.
People that would
Nobody's gonna
remember
talk
that are
about it
probably getting a
anyways.
little fuzzy. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's a small town. Like, I don't know. It's like there's so many unsolved cases as things are standing. So it's like they're not going to put time and energy in this. But I could see parents being like, especially back there, being like maybe the like super Christian ones too that didn't want your kids going out drinking and partying. It was like, well, you know, don't you remember in Massachusetts in 1962 when that masked kid killed everybody? You know, like you can't go to Targets. Like I could
Everybody.
just see that. That's what I think for that one. So
Everybody. Yep.
everybody. So I don't know. You guys let me know and let me comment. Let me know. Do you know where the massacre was? Halloween? Was it real? Was it just to scare kids? Because like I'm convinced I was gonna have a Halloween party, and now I'm like, better not, or I might die.
Imagine.
Legend says. Okay, next
Legend says.
legend. Yeah, legend says allegedly. Don't
Might
sue
be.
me.
I mean, I don't plan on having a Halloween party. I plan on going to like a
Mm.
witchy gathering, so I think I'm okay. I'll just
Ooh,
like set
I
up
think
my
you're
own
okay.
like little hexes and protection
Yeah,
stuff. I'll be good from
I'll
being
just
mass
smash all
murdered.
my windows out, and then it's fine.
Perfect. It's already gonna look like it.
Can't trap me.
Golden.
Yeah,
No, we
yeah,
just gotta
can't even
fake
trap
it.
me.
Fake
So
it. Yeah.
fuck it, bitches. Nice
Right.
try. And me.
Haha. Ah. Yep. Yep.
You're next. You're next, doll. What you got?
Well, I have like
Fairies?
a little side quest for a second
Of
because when you're
course.
talking about
Sure.
like that stuff, and I know the other topic that's coming up, and this is kind of like Halloweeny, but like also like
Yeah.
kind of fucked up in general. But like I guess one of like um I have an inside source. We're not going to say names or anything on here. No, it sounds a little creepy. It's not. Um, but apparently, a big thing right now in Alberta, like where I am, sucking each other's blood like full on vampires is a thing around here lately. To the point where our HIV positive rate has gone up skyrocket because people are sucking the blood of other people and then getting sick from their blood. Now, of course, we're not talking about it because if we talked about it, that would be like terrifying because it's actually really scary. But like apparently on like the outskirts of say like northern Alberta areas, people are doing it for funsies. Funsies. So like how you talk about like parties of like like I don't know, maybe Lady Gaga sacrificing babies or whatever bullshit that was down on that rabbit hole, but like is actually said to be happening, not to that extreme, but like sucking each other's blood. There's blood parties and stuff happening around here. Now, have I
You
partaken?
know,
Absolutely fucking not, because that is gross and I don't like blood on a good day. But like also like I was
what
like
are we
I'm a
doing?
iron. I was like I'm iron deficient. Maybe that's what I need to do.
Maybe that's the problem.
I'm
Maybe
low
I
in
do need.
iron. Do I need to drink the blood and be a cannibal now? Is that where we're at? Is that where we have gone? Because that just feels far fetched. But I just thought it was the wildest shit. So I don't know how much truth is to it. I don't actually have a whole lot of information, but apparently vampirism
I wouldn't be
is like
shocked.
nothing surprises me anymore. But I wanted to do that like little sidebar because you talked about mass murders, and for some reason my brain went to vampires, even though that wasn't even remotely on my topics.
That actually like bounces me more back to Hollywood and me being like, I'm gonna be shocked when adrenochrome comes out, and then you hear like people now normalizing vampirism with adults. Like again, so how far skip of a jump is it gonna be for a child? Like
Well,
not to be that way, but people wonder why we go to extremes, and it's like, well,
Well, like, did you see? I don't know if you watch cooking shows, but did you happen to see that one where the guy had
not
cooked?
lately.
He had cooked human remains in his food and fed it to the judges. It had made YouTube videos. It had gotten on there somewhere, but he said it was considered a delicacy, and the judges were fucking pissed because he like literally had cooked up human flesh and had given it to them to eat. And it's like, okay, but like guys, like where's the line? Because this like in some places, yeah, maybe it's considered a delicacy. And now I'm grossing myself out. But like guys, it's also fucking cannibalism, and like that's not okay. So I think this guy got arrested. I don't really know how that went down. I wish I knew more information. I'll look into it a little bit further. But I remember seeing the clip, and I think it was like British or
Of course it is.
of course it was British. Like let's be realistic, British or in the States. And this guy was like, oh, like they had to like guess what was in it, and one of them was like human flesh, and they're like, oh, well, it can't be that, and the guy's like, oh, but it is, and like one of the girls was like, you can't do that, that's fucking gross, and like lost their shit because like it goes against all their morals. And I was just like, but like how did he even get it? That would be the part, like, is he a murderer or did
That's
he get it from a morgue? Like how do you even get it? Like
oh,
ugh.
did you know that Chrissy Teigen has gone to a cannibalist restaurant, and there is one in the States, and it's like for real. Like you can, unless it's all AI, but this was before AI was really making it out. There's Chrissy Teigen has said she's eaten human. I'll try and go find the interview to send to you, but she
Oh
has said she's eaten
God.
human, and there is a place that ethically sources human food for cannibalism experiences in the States. I can't remember where it is, but when I fell down all the rabbit holes of like adrenochrome and
Oh.
all that and satanic rituals and what they do and da 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 da, and it's like, okay, I understand some people don't want to believe those things. It's like, okay, let's just take that all away, but people are still drinking each other's blood. I mean, Megan Fox went out and said that her and MGK did it out on a very huge platform. So I'm not entirely
Oh, for
sure,
funsies. Just for funsies.
for fun, just for fun.
Hmm.
And it's like, okay, well, what do you do for ritual and for your religion? Because people get real crazy about their religion. So if you're just doing that for fun, and I'm sorry, you are like maybe looking up to a bad god or a bad whatever, like what's that leading you to? So I do think, just like conspiracies, sometimes I wonder, do they put lore and legends on some things that actually have happened to just kind of also be like, well, that didn't happen, people aren't that crazy, when in fact they
They
are,
are.
because we've
Yeah.
seen it. So thank
Yeah.
you for that segue. That's interesting. Let's put a pin on that one, and maybe come back in a couple months and see where that's gone. And if
Yeah.
adrenochrome comes out, I'm gonna
Yeah.
shit bricks. I will shit bricks, and that is facts, because
Yeah.
that's my
Like
line. Where I give up
we're
on the
gonna
world
shit
is if
brick.
that comes up. Yeah, that's
That's
where I'm
it.
out. I'm like,
That's
I'm done.
pass. Okay, so like to go on
And
like
turn my fliss switch off. Turn me off.
right,
Turn the
that's
power button
yeah,
off.
like unplug me, let's go. So to go to like a more of a higher note, because now I'm back down the like myths and like that kind of vibes, more on the magical side of things, because I love that we're doing gory, and I also love that we can meet in the
Yes,
middle.
in the
But
middle.
okay,
Have
so
some
this one
nice,
here
nice
is
fluff.
right, some like nice fluff in there. But also I thought these are kind of fun. So this one here is Scottish Gaelic. Um, and it's based on like, so I'm a firm believer that everything has energy, and I keep on hearing like, I had a friend mention it to me the other day about water spirits out here in like Wembley, and we were down on the water, and she's like, oh, like don't go home with any of the rocks because like the water spirits will get you. And I was like, that is the wildest shit I've ever heard for a while, like what is happening? And she's like, well, like no, like everything has energy, and like, but like also I believe that part, but also like there's also the fact that it could also have been like a spirit in the way of like somebody who died there, right? Like in the river, who now feels like it's their job to like, you okay? What was that?
Warren? Yeah. Sorry, my like I was just, yeah, I was looking at you, like
Oh,
thinking of people dying in the river
oh,
and
okay. I
GP,
was
but
like, oh my gosh.
my phone, I forgot to look at my phone. It was telling me low battery, and I was like, oh shit, as she's talking, let's just. And then
um,
you said that, and then I was thinking of how many people probably have died there, and like,
yeah.
yeah,
Well,
that's
like,
where my head
but
went.
oh yeah, that's fair. And that, and like, if you think of like all of like the indigenous people who probably have died there, and we don't even know anything about it back in the, because the history is dark and deep, and like all like ooh, like that's a whole different topic. But anyways, she had mentioned about water spirits there that are like protecting the water, and kind of like the same way of like fairies in the sense, but like protecting of the water and the ocean, or like the waterway, I guess. So, anyways, that got me down the rabbit hole. So we are talking about lore and stuff like that. I was like, I wonder like what is out there about things about like water spirits. So this one here caught my attention. I thought it was really interesting. This one here is called the Each. Now I might butcher this. Each Uige. Don't know how to pronounce that perfectly, but it's Scottish Gaelic for water horse. So it's a water spirit in Irish and Scottish folklore. Um, and it's in Ireland, and on the Isle of Man, so like water, bodies of water out there. It usually takes the form of a horse and is similar to a kelpie. I don't know if you know what a kelpie is. Either way, they can kind of been called like nix or ichis. Essentially, it's a shapeshifter that turns into the look of a horse. So it, you know how like there's talks about like sirens and stuff like that, and they lure men to their death. This is
Yep, yep.
similar, but they're attracted to attractive women. So that is the part that got, yeah. So this is, I was like, okay, all right. So these are often mistaken as kelpies. So they inhabit within streams and rivers. And so, like, if you're out and you're like lost or whatever, sometimes these guys might show themselves, disguising themselves. They're shapeshifters, usually just like disguising themselves as a fine horse or a pony or a handsome man or a huge ass bird. Okay. So if you were to approach it, well, yeah, I'm sure this is like a boobry. I think is what the name of like of the bird. So it'd be like a big bird, big bird. So if while in horse form a man jumps onto the horse, it's only safe as long as the horse is ridden in the interior of the land. So, say if you were to cross over with bodies of water, you would drown, essentially. So, however, the glimpse or smell of water means the beginning of the end for the rider. So, if you come, like, if you hear a river or if you hear anything, yeah, anyways. So, for the water horse's skin becomes adhesive and the creature immediately goes to the deepest part of the loach with his victim. So like if he hears water, you'll be like adhered to this water horse and they'll take you under. And I was like, what the fuck? So it says they would drown the victim and tear them apart and devour his entire body except for the liver, which floats to the surface. So like just dude's liver would just be like hanging out. So um yeah, yeah. And then as in his human form, if he appears as a handsome man, it'd be recognized as a mythological creature only by the water weeds. So like nobody would really notice. He might look like he had like a bit of a jaunt because he might be mud in his hair or whatever. Like he'd look like he might be like in rough shape, but he'd be like looking right attractive. Kind of like our like Outlanders and Highlanders, right? Like they'd be looking right hot. But right hot. We love that for me,
Red
whatever I
hot.
just said. Right hot. So
That was
anyways,
real newfie of you.
that was I yeah. So basically they would try to seduce the women and when it's human victims, like along with like human victims, it also be like with cattle and sheep as well, and they would often prey and like just gut them, like just basically gut them and leave their liver there. Yeah. So they said this is like a story that came from one of the Highland tales. It says a blacksmith lost his daughter to the Ichiuis. In revenge, the blacksmith and his son made a set of large hooks in a forge that set up by the louch side, so like by the lake side. Uh, they had Woo. Sorry, I lost it. Hang on. Then they roasted a sheep and heated the hooks until they were red hot. So they're trying to lure Buddy back in. At last, a great mist appeared from the water, and this huge water horse rose from the depths and seized the sheep. The blacksmith and his son rammed the hot hooks into the flesh, and after a short struggle, dispatched it. In the morning, there was nothing left of the creature apart from like a jelly-like substance because you can't kill it because it's not like real.
It's not real.
It's not real, but
I don't need to
also
go
it's
by
real
rivers
enough.
anymore. Just kidding.
Ah, so like it's like another account. A water horse in human shape came to a woman's house when she was alone and attempted to court her, but all he got was his unwanted advantages was boiling water hurled between his legs. He ran from the house roaring in pain. So like yeah, she just threw some like scalding water at him. Which like dope girl, get it. But like yeah, just like I'm like that was wild. Like I'm like wow, water horses are crazy. And a third tale of father and his three sons conspired to kill a water horse. They came home to the house to see the daughter. They grabbed the young man, and like there was a struggle, and like yeah, like gut like these. I guess these water horses are like gutting people, and just like leaving their livers.
I don't like liver either, but just clean up your mess. That's all I'm gonna say.
Right?
Like
Like that
clean
just
up
feels
your
like a
whole
little too
entire
far, guys.
mess.
Come on.
Like that's a little much. Like apparently there's lots of benefits
It's
in liver. So like what are you doing? Just
like I
kidding. That's terrifying. And
Yeah.
there's lots of water, and like, and I completely agree with what you said there too. Like there is so much energy in water and stuff too, just with like all the different people that definitely go through accidents there, and like, and even too
Yeah.
like predecessing history, like what was on the lands before all of that too, right? And like leading, and like I feel like Alberta waters is so much like darker and like muddier, so it's harder to see and
Mhm.
stuff like
Mhm.
that. So I feel like that's a big element of like scare for me.
Well, like, and also you think of water, like water can be incredibly awesome because, like, if you have drought, you have water that comes in, and then it's like, oh, like, we're like mostly made of water. We have to drink our water. Like, there's pieces we need it for survival, but then like it's also incredibly destructive in the way of floods and like storms. But like also when you're looking at like yeah, or like when you're talking about rivers, they're unpredictable, especially when they're moving. So like the current in Undertow, like Tumbler Ridge has taken people out. Wapiti water over here, somebody dies every year. If it's only like it's lucky if it's only like a person, but it's taken like multiple people every year, and it's really sad because some of it could actually be younger kids too. So like, um, which I'm like
They're
always
powerful.
very very cautious about taking my kids to a river in general because it's really really unpredictable. Um, Plus it's not always the cleanest, and you're gonna find things in there that you might not want to see. So like, there's pieces there. Um, but yeah, I was like a water horse. Hey, that's a new take. That's
In my
um,
in my mind, I'm seeing like Harry Potter Patronus
I
vibes. That's
know,
what
right?
I'm getting. Like in my mind, that's where I'm picturing. But like, it's kind of weird because I'm just seeing a positive, like coming to save. But like, this is not a coming to save ya water spirit horse. It's like
No,
gonna
this is a
fuck you up.
coming to tear you apart. Like the part that I find interesting too, because they made for some reason, and when I think of that, like I don't even think of the Patronus. I think more on like the side of Frozen 2, where Olaf is talking about water being like it holds memory, and I'm like, cool. But then they also have the horse that comes out of the water, that is like the element of water in Frozen 2. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, that's where my brain goes. I was like, that's kind of fucked up that I made that connection. But here we be. Love that for me.
It's, you know what? Once you open pathways in your brain,
Yeah.
sometimes they just don't stop, and you just have to let them
No.
go, and that's totally fine. It is what it is. I noticed I didn't have my backlight on, and now I'm pissed, so I just put it back on. It's red. I wanted it to match. I was like, so that's where you're looking at me looking around. I was like, I know I have that thing somewhere, so now I have the red.
Yep.
I'm happy.
Now you're like,
But
I'm
yeah,
good now.
that's good to know. I'll stick by my lakes, and I'll always stick by the lake because the ocean and the rivers freak me out. I feel like lakes are a little bit more predictable than oceans and rivers. That's just a thought over the years of living by the ocean, living by rivers, and being by lakes. I'm like, lakes have death, do not get me wrong, but like
Yep.
lakes don't, they're not big action pieces, you know? Like, yes, it goes up and it goes down, but like the ocean, like with hurricanes we've seen, and like, you know, with
Hmm.
earthquakes, we see it move. Like lakes, they're pretty good. Rivers, unpredictable because they could be a big flow from the mountains. Like
Hmm. Hmm.
they're just unpredictable. I never hear of a lake like overflowing and like flooding houses. Like it's always like from the
That's true.
rivers, something coming up from the ocean. So I feel like around lakes, they're a little bit safer for than, you
You
know,
know,
moving
there
water.
is a lake. There's a lake back home. It's called Dead Man's Pond. Sorry, it's a pond, I guess, not a lake, but whatever. Dead Man's Pond. So essentially, they would when they killed people back in the day, they would shove them in barrels and roll them down this hill, and that's where they landed. And now they say that the bottom of the lake, yeah, I know, it says that it's like bottomless because they can't quite find a bottom, but they believe that this lake or pond or whatever actually tunnels out to the ocean. And it's creepy. It's like dark history of Newfoundland, but like essentially, Signal Hill was their point that they would like shove people in barrels after they executed them, shove them in like a wine barrel or like a liquor barrel, and roll them down the hill, and that's where they would go to rest. So yeah, to this day, as far as I know, they haven't been able to find a bottom to this pond. So like, I hear you. Death is always everywhere around us as a part of life, but like, there's some like weird shit, and like, I have a cousin. Yeah, and there's like some places that I just, like I don't mind getting into. I love getting into the ocean. Let's be real. I played mermaids the whole time I was home. But
Totally
like, there's
fair.
some stuff that I'm just like, but you know what? If I can't touch the bottom and I can't see through, I might not get in. Or if I feel like really off, I'm not gonna go swimming in Dead Man's Pond. I'm good. The name of it is just enough to be like, I'm good, bruh. No thanks.
There's a lake on the island going from Parksville, Nanaimo kind of area to Port Alberni into like the west coast, Cameron Lake, And there's so many legends and lores around those things. Apparently, that's where the Ogopogo has been seen. But same
Hmm.
thing, it's so deep that like if someone's car goes over there, like you're not rescuing them. Like it's
Yeah.
gone. And I've heard that there's tunnels under there that go to the same thing. Like, and now we're hearing tunnels at Diddy's house. So like, all these tunnels at Disneyland. Like I'm not surprised if there's a lot of tunnels that go to a lot of places that we don't want to know. But same thing,
Hmm.
like I understand a lot of people love to go to that lake. Doesn't matter, it's 50 degrees. I will not step foot in that fucking lake because I'm like, I know there's dead people in other lakes that I swim in. I'm aware of that. Just the fact that they don't know really where the bottom is or they're not sharing it if they do know it, that's good enough for me to be like, you know what, there's other nice lakes to be around.
Yeah.
So rather not. And that's the fun thing with legends and lores is that you really your area has a bunch. Like BC has their own, Canada has their own, like Alberta has their own, the States has their own, each city, Newfoundland, everyone's gonna have their own. And that's what I kind of love about it and don't love, because I'm like, what is real and what is not.
Hmm.
This is a real thing that I'm gonna talk about, and this freaks me out in such a way that I can't explain, because I don't know what it is, and I don't want to be one of those people, but I truly hate clowns. Like I
Me too.
fucking hate
Eh.
them.
Nope.
I
Me too.
don't think they're funny. I don't think
Nope.
they're cute. I don't nothing.
Nope.
Anybody that's obsessed with clowns, I'm like, red flag. Like so when
Red
this
flag
all
for sure.
happened, yeah, I was having a meltdown and I didn't want to be a part of it, and I was really hoping it wouldn't come to Grand Prairie. But and I know you remember this one, the 2016 clown sighting. So
Hmm.
not a legend or lore, but just like one of those stupid things that picks up that the world does together, that I'm like, there's so many things that we can make popular. Why are we doing this? But just to reiterate for people that didn't know, in 2016, there were reports of people disguised as evil clowns in congruous settings such as near forests and schools. The incidents were reported in the States, Canada, Australia, the UK, and other countries during August 2016. The sightings were first reported in Green Bay, Wisconsin, in what turned out to be a marketing stunt for a horror film, but this phenomenon later spread to many cities across the US, and by mid October 2016, the sightings and attacks had been reportedly all over the United States and 9 out of 13 provinces in Canada, plus 18 other countries in the world. Prior to this incident, there had been people like seen in clowns, but not to this like amount of it. Um, and so, where do I want to go down here? So, this all happened, and then there's warnings that actually came out. So, on October 12th, the Russian embassy in London issued a warning to Russian and British citizens because of this clown scare. And the Fijian police warned people in involvements in this because allegedly there was like going to be a whole bunch of like riots, and like people were going to go on like a purge thing, killing people with clowns, and like
Yeah. Killer
it
clowns.
got like really, yeah, it got really bad. Like October 25th, several news outlets report there was a alleged clown initiated purge, which was supposed to take place on Halloween. There was no widespread spread purge, which we all knew, but there was one family in Florida that actually did get attacked by 20 different people in clown masks. I,
That sounds
when
like the
I
most
tell you,
expensive therapy bill. Oh God.
to me that could, and like honestly, I'm not for banning stuff, I'm all for free speech, but ban the fucking clowns. Like I'm fine with that.
Like, uh, but
I
okay, I've
haven't
got
watched
so many
Up, I
questions.
refuse. Yeah, I don't know if I have the answers.
Well, like, so, so I fell down this rabbit hole because we were talking about this, and I was like, what happened in that year? Was that when it first came out? Like, did Stephen King get shit on for this? Like, did he? Because then I was like, okay,
Maybe.
but like in the 70s, there were serial killers who were dressed up as clowns for like charity events, and then they turned around and like killed a bunch of people, and like they're like nowhere in history, in my opinion, have clowns been like something that I have been like that I would want to draw and be like, "Oh my gosh, I love clowns." No, I hate it. I hate the circus. I want no part of it. No, thank you.
No, it seems like that's where kids go to die. So it says, so precursor sighting. It looks like there wasn't anything major. So like in 2013, there was a creepy town in Northampton, England, where there had been clown sightings during October and September. But there's also three filmmakers there. So okay, so it say
Oh.
the clown shared similar looks to Pennywise from Stephen King's book It. The trio started a Facebook page, the so-called Northampton Clown, and was using appearance to drive traffic to the page. So I think what has happened over time has just been about like advertising and marketing for plays, movies, things. And it's just like the fucking crazy people in the world, as usual, are just like, let's just take this and make it a nightmare. And it's like, can we
Yeah,
not?
100%. Because
Because
like maybe
I
the
don't know when
Joker
it
was
came
out
out.
around then too.
Let me check and
Like
see if I
the
can Google it.
Joker and then it and then like my brain's just like, but like why? Like what was happening then? If it's for like a marketing stunt, like why? Because like I mean the Purge was like
Uh
fucking creepy and like
Trudeau came into power as government.
I mean could be.
So 2017, it looks like when the movie It came out. So that wasn't it.
Mm,
2019 chapter 2, 1988. Yeah, so it wasn't like, yeah, like to your point, it would make sense if that movie came out and everyone's like, yeah, or like The Purge came out, but like 2016,
yeah.
I don't know. And like I said, it says so 2014, it looks like owner of a YouTube page was like going up and like scaring people. So like I think there's been things where people just take clowns and try to do their viral shit and try to like do stuff. But this one was just like next level. Okay, we're gonna purge
Like
and
took
kill
over the world.
everyone. Yeah, and
It's
like
like
there's
it's
a
almost
couple
like
things, but nothing major.
it's like doing like okay, you remember when like the Harlem Shake was a big deal? I remember I think we talked
Yes,
about that.
yes,
But I mean,
yes,
like that's the fact that it was all about like substance abuse, which was like wild, and people trying to withdraw. Anyway,
yes,
but like people were
yes,
doing like, or like they would like do like the planking. Do you remember like they randomly plank everywhere? It
yes.
was like a viral
I
thing.
did that.
But like
Hmm.
yeah, me too. But like this is next level. This is like
Hmm.
this is next.
Diabolical.
I have no words. But like Ronald
Please
McDonald,
don't do this.
terrifying. Hate him.
He's just a clown with like greasy food. There's no difference. Like I don't know. And then I just feel like the other one's just like Barney with like a lower bottom. Then I don't. It's just weird. All of it's weird. I don't know why they want to have clowns. I don't know why people like get a clown for a kid's birthday. Like that is fucking terrifying. I've never
Is it
felt like
like?
childlike clown. No, nightmare clown.
So like I'm like my head goes to this part too because this is like I have like a deep part of my brain that I'm just like this is like diabolical in the way of like is it one of those things that it's supposed to be so innocent because it's supposed to be for kids and then they've just taken it and just removed that innocence altogether because you like back in the day clowns were seen for like entertainment for kids. Like boop boop and like like fun
Yeah.
like little
Here's a
like squirt
balloon.
flowers and like oh ho ho. So like now, yeah, exactly. Here's a balloon, but now it's like Pennywise who's going to lure your kids to their death and like they could get away with it because they're supposed to be for kids. So it's like also putting in that fear factor of like um the things that people get away with. Yeah, if you misbehave, but also like taking away our kids' innocence and like in pieces of or like our generation. I fucking hate clowns.
I
No
hate
part of
him.
me wants. I mean, I dressed up really funny. Like I think it was a couple years ago. I played with some face paint and looked like a terrible clown, but I thought it was hilarious because I was bored. But um, terrifying. I just my brain goes immediately to Stephen King. I love him. I love his work. I will read everything else but it. Pennywise, not my jam.
Totally.
He's up there with the Chuckies.
Not
I
your
don't do
jam.
the Chuckies. I don't do the dolls. Not for me.
Not a fan. Not for
Fair
me.
enough.
I agree.
Maybe on a popular opinion, but Killer Clowns,
No,
that's high up there on the zombie list of me, and I don't like it.
no, I agree. And so this is like, if I seen this, I would shit a brick. I'm like, someone got into my
Mm-hmm.
diary and found my nightmare and is coming after me. And so like, I
Mm-hmm.
remember when this was happening and just thinking, Jesus Christ, like, not like, oh, I think people are gonna come murder us. Like, didn't think that. I was just like, please don't be extra clowns. And every Halloween, I'm like, I just don't want to see one. Or like the Spirit Halloween, amazing decorations, but there's a couple of those like creepy clown things, like where it literally makes my insides crawl and I feel uncomfortable being in the building. I'm like, I just got to get out of here. Like, this is, I'm not into going at like, you know what, my nervous system's shot. I'm not into getting scared more than I need to be. I like going to check
Mm-hmm.
things out and I like looking at it. I have no desire, and I'll go to like the little kid ones because those are funny and they still make me like jump scare a little bit. But like anything
Mm-hmm.
that's like gonna come out and grab my leg, it's probably best that I don't, because I will, like, I don't know, I'll become a survivor and
Punch
I don't know what
somebody.
I would do. I definitely would
Yeah.
kick the like literally kick. Yeah, like I don't. It's not safe for me. I don't. It's not safe for work for me to go to a
It's
Halloween.
not
Like
safe for them
no,
either. Like
it's not for them. Like this is more for you guys than me because I don't know how I'd react and like.
Yeah.
I don't want to,
Oh.
especially if you're in a clown. Like I would probably go to jail for murder. But yeah, so don't be clowns for this Halloween, even though it's too late because it'll be the first by the time this launches. But next Halloween, please, and don't make your kids little creepy clowns, and don't make them into Pennywise. That's just creepy. But to your point, I do think we
Yep.
are trying to desensitize all of it, like remove of innocence and desensitize all of that
Mhm.
stuff in a degree. Like it really bothers me with all this stuff when it happens. Like how we do desensitize kids and stuff like that to this, and how we do take
Mhm.
the innocent things away and turn it into either something
Something
extremely
bad.
sexual or fearing. Like it's either two. Like how about not, let's just not, like I don't know. And then here's adults,
Let's
we're trying to be kids again. Like do we not learn this? Like let kids be kids so that, and adults, we don't have to feel like we have to go back to be kids. Just a
to
thought.
add to that and to like bounce back to the whole music piece because like I just had this
Yes.
thought. I was listening to music the other day and I think it was the song is okay. Do you remember the Cataracts?
Maybe was there one song?
Yeah, there was like one song, but their other song, I don't remember the first song, but there's another song called Big Dipper. And they're definitely talking about his
Okay.
dick. But I was very adamant on talking. I like it was like Big Dipper, and I'm like, it's a good bop. Like I
Yeah.
genuinely enjoy it. But then I'm like,
Yeah.
I know that that's about the dick. But then you talk about like I think we probably talked about this before. It's like Cake by the Ocean, and I'm like, oh, but like
Yes.
I and I'm like, okay, but like, could we actually sing about Cake by the Ocean? Because I would still listen to it.
Yes.
I love cake, and I love the
Yes.
ocean. So like, why does it everything
Yes.
have to be sex? I was like, also, if you're gonna call my vagina a honey cruller, I'm gonna be really, really, really weirded out. Like maybe not call it that. That is,
Don't call it
there's some
anything.
stuff. But like, why is it that
There's
sex
lots of
sells?
stuff.
Because like there's other stuff, like even the kids' music we're listening to on like little
Yeah.
kids bops, and
Jojo
I'm just like,
Siwa?
none of this is appropriate at all. But
No.
as like, and like Zadie's like, Mom, what's this Big Dipper song actually about? And I was like, oh, it's about a constellation of stars. And she's like, yeah, okay. And I'm like,
Dick.
girl, you're 10. I'm not telling you that. She's like listening to like Snow, I think it's like called Snow Wife, and she's talking about like pool parties and like but I also have her listening to Limp Bizkit. So who am I to judge on what she's listening to? Because like
I
also I want her to
know.
like have a variety of music and make her own decisions. But
Yeah.
like also she's 10, so how do you protect her from like some WAP? Like yeah,
Yeah, I know. No, I totally get
I
that
don't
too.
know,
It's
man.
like it's like having them be aware so they could protect themselves but not absorbing it. So I think as long as there's a balance, like if we look at us, like we were like, yeah, we're fucked up, we have some things we got to work through, but really that stuff, when we look at our biggest problems, is the Hollywood and all those things the real big issue of why we are, for the majority of us, no, I'm sorry, it's down to our parents and our family and our
Mhm.
environment.
Mhm.
It did not help. I'm not saying that, and I like to call it out. It did
Yeah.
not help, but at the end of the day, like I think if you're connected to your child, if you they can talk to you, you can see behavior, so you can call it out and see what's going on when things change. I think you can see if
Mhm.
their ideology is changing based off of that. And if you surround them with a bunch of different ones, then you're not putting them in an echo chamber either, right? So it's like I think that's what's
Mhm.
super important. Like we had the discussion about the Hollywood, and like you having to tell Zadie like we can't really watch these shows anymore. You don't have to give her the reason. She'll figure it out when she turns
Yep.
14, 15. She'll be like, oh, that's why. And then you guys can have the conversation, right? So I think it's great,
Yep.
and I think it's a real hard time for parents to try and keep the innocence when everything, especially you want to enjoy music with them, and you don't want to just be listening to their music and they're in the car, and you turn something on, but then all of a sudden it's like pussy ass bitch fuck cunt da da da, and you're like, that's uncomfortable, and
I
you're just but one
and
and
yeah, like unpopular opinion, I'm gonna let my kid drop the fuck bomb, especially for like
oh yeah.
listening to Limp Bizkit. Like we will like jam out to
Yeah.
that on the way to school. That's how we regulate our
Mhm.
emotions and we scream it out because like how else do you?
Yeah.
You can't just live around and
Can't
walking
keep it
with a
in.
bundle of emotions and anxiety. And I am
No.
trying to I'm trying to unbreak that. But I also had to have like these really like firm boundaries and be like, girlfriend, you can listen to Limp Bizkit, just don't go to school and call somebody a fuckhead. Don't use
Yeah,
it in school.
exactly.
Use it with like
Exactly.
if you stub your toe, ow, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
Valid. But like also
Yeah.
like and there's some stuff around curse words. We should just do that one day too. Talk about curse words and like their
Totally. Yes.
origination because like that is like right
Yeah.
up my alley right now too. I'm in my what I've called the villain era, which we find hilarious because it's just boundary setting. But like also like learning about like why we use the words that we do and where the
Mhm.
origination comes from and like just like shit like
Yeah.
that.
And it
Anyway,
all
sidebar.
matters, right? It all matters. No, it's a good sidebar. It all matters, right? It all forms who we are. And so, yeah, so let's go to your last one because you have a really good last one, which is something like you just said you just experienced lately. So let's wrap up with your final legend
Oh,
lore topic.
yes. I was like, what was I talking about? Anyways, so my last topic, we're on the the water. All the water has
I
been
know all
like
about
a
the
theme in
waters.
my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
But I think it's
It's
because I
good.
went to Newfoundland. I stayed for a whole month, and I soaked in all the water, and I got to be a mermaid. And I resonate with
Nice.
mermaids. But this is a version of mermaids that I thought was very interesting. This actually came up. So I have a new oracle deck of cards, and it's called Healing Waters.
Ooh.
And in it, um, they were talking about Selkies, and that was new information for my brain. So I was like, what the hell is a
Hmm.
Selkie? So it's actually considered a mythological creature that can shapeshift between seal and human form. So essentially, they remove or put on their seal skin, and then they become what they're supposed to be. So the legend, kind of story of what that came to be about is that a fisherman stole a Selkie skin. So the Selkie was a female, and then she turned into a woman, and they would must have to stay as a human. So, anyways, the couple ended up marrying and having children. And the children find and return their skin to their mother. So, like, it gives Little Mermaid vibes as well as
As
some
I
like
say,
Aquaman. A little bit, kind of some
yeah.
Aquaman vibes in there too. But like, I thought it was a different take on mermaids because I've heard of sirens. Like, I
Mhm.
remember back in the day, like is there still a store called Sirens? It's like Stitches or Sirens or something,
I feel like,
and it's all
yeah,
like
I
more
don't know if
like
it's still open, but I
more
remember
like
it.
but like it was
Yeah.
more on the seductive side of things, right? Because like the
Yes.
sirens were
Yes.
known to like lure fishermen and men to their deaths by like singing to them, but like also their songs were actually shrieky, but more so it was like a lure to their deaths. So I thought this was an
Mm-hmm.
interesting take because I think if I have it correctly, the origination of the Disney Little Mermaid was a lot more fucked up than what it's portrayed to be as Disney right now. It was more so
Of
that
course.
a woman, yeah, it was more so like the mermaid um was abused and everything to become a human or whatever, like yeah, like it was like what they had is fairy tales, right? Like the fairy
Of
tales are
course.
more fucked up than what
Yep.
Disney has turned them into. And I
Oh
resonate
no.
more with the Brothers Grimm anyway. Let's be realistic. If we're
Hmm.
gonna go down
Yeah.
that road, I
Yes.
prefer the creepy. But
Yeah.
like I'm
Then
like
the
I
pedophile.
yeah, right. But like Selkies, I was like, that is different. I've never heard of like a half seal,
Yeah.
half person. I've always been considered like a half fish, half person. Sirens
Mm-hmm.
who are like portrayed as looking absolutely beautiful, but really they're monsters. And then there's been like, sightings of mermaids in the past, or like
Mm-hmm.
remains found that they're like, oh, half fish people. But like Selkies can be seen as women or men, but in this scenario, the legend came from a fisherman who stole this Selkie's skin, and they became
Skin.
human. They had kids, and then they shapeshifted into different animals. And then as soon as she got back her skin, she was able to go back to the ocean.
That sounds like
Like what?
not my body, my choice for sure.
Right? It sounds right. It sounds very like pushed on them. But I was like, oh, okay. So
yeah.
like, it's also like, it's up there with like the mermaids and the mermen and the sirens and the whatever. But like, that was new for my brain. I had no idea there was such a thing.
Yeah.
But I was like, what the fuck is a selkie? And I'm like, is this up there with like the mythological creatures being like unicorns? Because I feel like unicorns for sure still exist somewhere in this world.
They've got to. I
Because if
mean, it's not far
narwhals are
off
a
from a
thing,
horse, right? And like
from a
it's
hearse.
I mean, like come on. If we've got like the politicians that we have, like they're lizards. Like I said the other day, I was like I would not be
Yeah,
shocked if we found out that Zuckerberg was a lizard cuz he's slimy as fuck. So,
well, like,
like
and we hear about like, I don't know if you've heard about like skinwalkers and stuff like that. Because
yeah.
like I follow some guys on like Instagram and like skinwalkers and stuff like that, and
Mhm.
like basically shapeshifters that you don't go out into the woods or you don't whistle at dark. But that's something
Nope.
like Sean's always followed, and I was like, what? Like that's weird. But like no, it's because like you don't whistle at dark because like that's when the stuff comes out. That's the creepy shit. That's why. And I was like, I've
So I
always
go
been
to
afraid
bed.
of the dark. Is this why? Because I can't see things?
Yes.
Or is this because the
Well,
veil is the veil is the veil is smaller and all the creepy crawlies come
it,
out and it's like Like
There's
why,
that, and there's also Goosebumps and Why Are You Afraid of the Dark,
right?
coming out in books and video when we were children, and like, I think we
That's
love as
true.
people, I think we love to be scared. Like, I think we love the unknown, and I swear it's just like, I'll be like, "Oh, I don't need to be afraid of
It's
something,"
like
and
an
all of a sudden, like,
adrenaline.
I'm gonna deep dive into this. I'm like, "Just kidding, I'm addicted." Like, oh my god, I was literally live watching Hurricane Milton so bad, and it had nothing to do with me. Although I have lots of friends in Tampa and, like, obviously people that I care about down there, at the same time I was like,
Yeah.
and I was like, you are so addicted to the fear porn right now. Like, what are you expecting to happen here? Like, to see people die? Like, you can do your life and go back and check. Like, you're not in immediate danger, you cannot help. Like, what are you doing? But I do love falling into this stuff, and I like talking about it, and then I'm like, that's good. I think if I was confronted in real life with any of these topics, from yours to mine, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I don't, this isn't real life. No, thank you. I don't want to see fairies. I don't want to see no skins. I don't want to see no water horse. I don't want to see no clowns. I don't want to, well, the roller coaster of love, like, obviously, no, we wouldn't do that anymore. And I don't think, I think murderers are going to murder no matter if it's a Halloween party or not. But I definitely don't want to see any like mystical creatures. Like, I think I do, but I don't think I do. You know?
I think it's nice in theory, and that's it's like like when they say like don't meet your celebrity, like like you don't meet your heroes. I feel like it's like one of those
Yes.
things, like it's nice in theory, but if it ever actually
Mhm.
happened, I'd be like, what the fuck, I'm losing my shit. That would be like, I'm done, take me out.
Yeah. I'm
I
out.
like the idea of
Turn me off.
dabbling, and I wouldn't mind like if that was a trip for me and I was deciding to do
Totally.
mushrooms, or I went down and
Yeah.
maybe I had a
Ayahuasca.
lot of dairy before bed and I dreamt about it. Cool,
That's
that
fun.
is more than enough. Don't fully submerge me in a full horror movie, because that would be the line. I also am a firm believer that everybody has the ability to murder. That's maybe
Mm-hmm.
like a weird take, but I feel like everybody has
Mm-mm.
the ability to do that. So I find that the mythological creatures though are more on my vibe, and I feel like humans are more of like the shit, in the way
Unpredictable.
of
Yeah.
like if there's things that like maybe magic
Yes.
doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I prefer to gravitate towards that versus and
Mm-hmm.
spirits and like ghosts. That
Mm-hmm.
that stuff, I'm like, cool. I really like that. Aliens
Mm-hmm.
and people, I'm just like, those are unpredictable. I don't like it. Pass. Because like
Mm-hmm.
our
Yeah.
brains are scary.
Hard pass.
Like brains are scary places. I get lost in this one, and I'm just like, oh my god, Holly, like that's bad enough. Never alone to try to go. But I like, but then I'm like, okay, Ted Bundy made sense. Uh,
Totally makes sense. But anyways, as always, Holly G, this was so much fun. Thank you so much for researching and bringing some fun topics to me, and letting me spout off my weird things that I found on the internet as well.
oh,
But before we go today, I just want you to be able to drop all your handles, because you have so many different adventures that I know a lot of people love, especially if you like to go into the magical realm and step outside what we know in front of us. You have a lot of areas that you help. So just a little, not little, however long you want to. I hit that. I'm like a little, and I don't feel like you can't speak. Let's where can we find you, and what kind of magical services that you do offer for those in your area?
so my personal handle is Hot Mess Holly G. That's where you'll find all the personal stuff. That's my kids, my dogs. I got a new doggo. I don't know if you've
Yeah,
seen him yet, but he's so
I
freaking cute. He's a
did.
little
He's so
rescue. That's
cute.
where you can connect with me for this kind of stuff too. That's where I'll be posting
Mhm.
anything like that, modeling stuff like that is on there. I've actually lumped all of my business under one handle now, so anything that is simplicity coaching, so decluttering. I also do Sacred Rage and Sacred Grief sessions, which is basically us tapping into our emotions to release them with intention. I do witchy workshops. I'm still doing hair over there. I'm doing like Reiki, card readings, tarot. Like we're doing some weird stuff, but we're like really enjoying it. And I am branching more into like the healing and witchier side of things. I still love hair,
Oh, of
because
course.
it still has a foundation of like the healing aspect in my brain, and that's why I love
Mhm.
doing it, because it's more so for the self expression, but it's also like I get
Mhm.
to move all this energy from people's brains, right? Like it's just,
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain that, but it's freaking cool. People usually feel
we
better
know.
leaving, getting their hair done. So like we're getting weird
Yes.
and we're loving every part of it. So I am at
Yes.
the.hg, so Holly George HG experience on all of the handles over there. And I also like you can purchase my children's book over there. I've got some more other things coming
Yeah.
up, but most of the stuff I have branded under like one place, and two, you can find all of my crazy stuff there. So hair, healing, handmade. Oh, I've got my candles and stuff over there. Like we're just like we're really
All
building
the
on the
things.
whole, all the things, all the branding and all of the things are very much like me essentially. And
Mhm.
I was worried about it, but it feels really good because it's all of pieces of me essentially.
It is.
So
It
yeah,
is.
so
Isn't there a
that
song,
feels good
Pieces of
finally.
Me?
It felt scary.
Yes. No.
Ashley
Well, I
Simpson,
totally get that, but is that what it is? You hear that
pieces
song
of
in your head
me.
right now?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that's
think so.
exactly what I'm hearing. Yeah.
Well,
But it's so perfect
my
though. And
sister,
we
well, my sister, sorry, I
go
didn't
ahead.
mean to cut you off, but like my sister
No, it's
had
okay.
played Hillary Duff at her wedding, and then I fell down the rabbit hole of like millennial girl power
Oh,
songs, and then Pieces of Me came out from Ashley Simpson, so it's actually back
so
on my playlist. So we love that.
perfect. So that's exactly, I felt that. I feel it. And it's so beautiful too because I've been able to watch you go through that. Like I said, back at the beginning of the episode, where it's like we met on the porch through art, and then I was able to watch you do all of those things. And I think now, once you put everything under one, that's just like you. And it's like all because
Mm-hmm.
you're not just so many people. And I talked about this on my episode with Reminder, is about like human purpose. Like so many people just think it's like one
Yeah.
thing. And me and you have always been a person that has like many things, and we've never understood the one thing title. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
it's because we just have an understanding of ourselves better, that we know just one thing isn't going to just make us feel like our cup's full. We want to do a multitude of things because we can do a multitude of things. And so I just love that about you. Now it's like it's cool to see it all to come together as a business and it validate, and as it's working out and you're getting all these new connections and new things, I think it's proving that you're doing the right thing. So as always, appreciate you, my love. Oh, we have a little. Hi.
There's Miss Rain popping in for a hello.
Hello.
But thank you for
But
having
yes,
me, my love.
yeah, always. And until next time, guys, bye. Much for the support. I cannot thank you enough for being here. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please give me a follow at the Be Real Babe podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and Pinterest. You can also find me on Facebook at the Be Real Collective. Until next time, guys, bye.